Chris Olmsted, Hebron.
Carol Shea from Marlborough. Flag is up, we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
This is the segment where we have public comments, and if anyone would like to make a comment, please stand, identify yourself, and give your address, what town you're from, and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And I think that's it. That's it. I don't even have a script, so this is what I recall. Anyone have any public comments? Mr. Shea.
Thank you, Mrs. Shea. Dick Shea from Marlborough. I just wanted to say on behalf of those of us in Marlborough, we appreciate the field trip for the board and the opportunity to participate, and particularly appreciate the time that the teachers have taken, because normally you'd be home relaxing and maybe on your second glass of wine, but instead here you are, and I hope that we get some more local attendees besides myself and Cliff, but otherwise we will listen and report, and we thank you for being here.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Next we have on the docket is the superintendent's report.
Okay, this evening, we have the coordinators of science, PE and health, social studies, and guidance here to address the board. So I'd like to begin with Ms. Alexa Mitchell to talk about science. Alexa?
I'm Alexa Mitchell. I'm the science and coordinator.
Alexa, could you just move up to the front row so everybody can hear you better?
Beyond the list of highlights that I supplied, I would say that there's really two major summary highlights that I would like to talk about, one of which is the increase in the number of students in our AP classes. And so this has been a wonderful thing for us. And in addition to that, those classes are also, or at least some of them are also aligned with UConn courses, so students get direct credit through local colleges. We also have a few classes that are aligned with and so this is one of the major highlights of the department. I would say the second one is that we are sort of closing in on our alignment with NGSS, which is the series of national standards for science that came out a few years ago. And so through that alignment, we've sort of had a pedagogical shift towards more of a skill focus for students and problem solving skills in the science classes. And so with those two things, I would say our major challenges looking forward are maintaining the integrity of the program. And one of the things that comes along with problem solving and the NGSS shift is providing students with real world experiences and hands-on experiences, lab work, field trips. And so I'd like to continue to promote that in the department. And then the second thing would be to really support the teachers and students by providing some high quality instructional resources to go along with our shift towards NGSS.
Thank you. This evening, I think we'll rotate in terms of questions. We'll do a little different than I did last time. I think we'll rotate with whom we start with, and also, each person asks one question, the more of us will get a chance to question them, unless you have a couple questions that are closely related. So, Amy, would you like to start?
I think pass for now, and Carol, thank you.
I just started looking at this a couple of days ago, and so one of my things I've gone through everybody's presentation or department is looking at the reduction. So I see there was 1,090 $1,091 in reductions. What I don't see is what those reductions were. So could you tell me what those were, please?
Sure, those are related to lab supplies.
And are they something that you had last year
Yes,
and you don't need this year?
I do. I would like to have them this year. That reduction didn't come from me.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay. Is there anything else that you are lacking that you think you need?
Beyond what's in the budget?
Yes.
So recently I was provided the number of students who will be taking AP classes next year, and we've seen the AP physics and AP bio classes essentially double. And so I just this week, I think, submitted paperwork to increase the number of textbooks we have for the courses because we just don't have enough, and I'm not sure that that is reflected in the application.
And when we talk about AP courses, we're looking at AP biology. What other AP courses are we offering?
Offering in general?
Yes.
We have AP biology, AP chemistry, AP environmental science, AP physics C, which is a calculus-based course, and AP physics 1, which is an algebra-based course.
And we're seeing an uptick, correct? Like you said, your AP chemistry, 21 students enrolled, and what's the percentage of that we're looking at as far as increase in AP courses?
It depends on the course, but for AP biology, we've increased, we've doubled the course, and actually both AP physics C and AP biology will be doubling for next year. This past year, AP chemistry had, I want to say, 30 students signed up, and previous to that, we didn't even run it, so we've seen quite an increase in the number of students.
Thank you.
Sue, nothing right now.
One question, I went around this, what we just talked about. Can we get from Dr. Sinski a list of all the AP courses and how many students and how many got 3s and 4s and 5s? With all the literature we get, say, they lump it all together, and we don't have any idea how they're split.
I can give you a list of courses. I can give you the number of 3s, 4s, 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s in each of the courses, but I can't give you his name.
Yeah, right. Okay. It'd just like to be nice to see, we always, everything we've seen lumps it together from 3s to 5s, and we don't really know. 3, a big difference, right? 3s, most colleges don't really take 5s, they take some of them. 4s in there. My question, could you talk about a lot more about the OD books in middle school? What's that all about? Big idea.
So those would be essentially digital resources for the students in both 7th and 8th grade. The current textbooks that they have in the middle school right now are 12 or more years old, and they don't have enough books for all the students in each grade. So right now, teachers are rotating different books depending on what they're teaching. And order, and we will all be doing different things. So we wanted to get a resource that everybody could use at the same time, and that reflected a lot of the other initiatives and shifts that we made at Rham. So it would be digital, which is good because the students wouldn't have to worry about carrying a textbook around. And they could access it at home, they could use it on their Chromebook, they could use it on most any device. It also allows the students to directly interact with the text, so they can highlight, annotate, and they can actually save that into their next year's interaction. It also comes along with some additional digital resources where teachers would be able to assign things like virtual labs, or question and answer type of things, and assess them online. So it reflects our digital shift as well. And in addition to that, it's also aligned with NGSS, and so it does reflect the skill set shift that's really trying to get students to do more in-depth reading, writing, problem solving, that type of thing, rather than just being a content resource.
And what's the licensing mechanism? Is this 1 year?
No, it would be 7 years.
This is for both, they're the same package for both 7th and 8th grade?
Sort of. It's through the same company, but the 7th grade would be a little bit smaller just because they have fewer units.
And then I have to ask the question, did you check any source?
I did. I actually had quite a few department meetings where the teachers were able to explore all sorts of different resources. We were doing this since September, August. And they looked into some of the free resources, and they just don't show the same kind of quality that these do, and they don't really reflect, like I said, that skill set development piece.
Excellent, thank you.
No, I have a very similar questions. So one, you've indicated that you probably need some other textbooks.
Yes.
Okay, so if you had to prioritize, if you had to eliminate one of these two of the large ebooks in order to make sure that we can maintain the current programming, which one would you lose?
Like between 7th and 8th grade?
Correct. I'm trying to keep the kids that are going, and then bring in a new.
That would be, I have to sit and really think about that. Because if I did the 7th grade and then they go into 8th grade, but no longer have that resource, it's sort of,
Although you could ask for that resource next year, you see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So yes, it doesn't have to be answered tonight, but that was one thing I think you might have to look at.
Okay, let's-
Especially if you're asking for substantially more textbooks in other areas, just to maintain program.
Yeah.
Do you have a question?
I do, and Amy does.
Oh, okay. I think that's covered my questions.
Okay. And I apologize, I have a sick child, but Alexa, I have a question for you and I guess Scott and Lauren and whoever. First of all, thank you so much for that weekend science experience. And that's part of what my question is about. It sounds like towns like, I'm not sure, Westport and Darien and those kinds of towns were there and participated a lot, and there was a Rham representation. How do we create those kinds of experiences for our students and where they work and do some of that research as well? And what would we do as a board to help that happen?
Yep, so Lauren and I actually started this conversation today. When I was there, it seemed like many of the schools actually had a course that was designated for research. And so, my mind starts turning as I'm watching the students up there and doing this. And when Lauren and I talked today, to start out with something like a club where students would have support and, you know, if they're interested in doing their own projects, we could organize it that way. And then in the future, have that lead into a research-based course. Glastonbury was one of the districts that was well represented, and I have looked into their course selection, and they have a research, like seminar type of course, and the students basically identify a project that they want to work on, and the entire curriculum is designed around supporting them through that process.
And I guess, I mean, you know, I'm on the program subcommittee, and I'd like to bring some of this back. I'm not sure we as a board have done enough to support science. I was pretty disappointed that the 9th grade didn't participate in the science fair this year. You know, I had a kid who was hoping and waiting and whatever, and, you know, and we found out then that Rham withdrew from that, which it is what it is. But like, how can we be more supportive? So we had that, but then, you know, I had the opportunity to be driving, and I had 3 girls with me, and they were all talking about science, 2 of whom participated, you know, at that science. And for anybody, and Alexa could explain it better than I can certainly, but Rham kids over the weekend went to UConn Health Center, and they saw students who are doing research along with professors, so actual high school students along with professors. And I'm just wondering, like, how we can, as, you know, we talk about being innovative and personalized and all of that, for those students who do want to do these things, help create that. I mean, is that something you need more time on? Maybe I wanted to email you. I didn't want to put you on the spot.
I mean, the wheels started turning as soon as I had the experience with the students. I think that I would have to really think about it.
Yeah, fair.
I think that the 3 major things that I think would have to be in place. One would be like a system that would support the students, which might be in the form of a club
Yeah.
or a class. The second would be that we would have to fund, you know, whatever
Right.
types of projects that might lead into, and I don't know, that's something I really would have to look into. And then the third thing would be making connections with other mentors beyond Rham. And so what it seemed to be was that a lot of the students had like a teacher at their school that was serving as a mentor, but in addition, they had a professor at a local college or
Okay.
something that was also supporting them. So,
One of the things that we said at one of the last budget meetings, and I don't think any of us want to be seeing families take on great costs, but this is such a crushing budget year that we asked the last folks who presented just to find out if there are any other ways of funding than the traditional, the schools fund, that if, you know, families really wanted to do this, are there any of those schools where families are paying a contribution? Not that we want that, but it's just such an irregular budget year. So if you don't mind asking that with your context, because I think I've seen some things online before about, you know, science for kids, and there's a tuition fee or something.
yeah.
So,
I do have a question. Thanks. I'm noticing here that there's, you're requesting $4,800 for transportation fees. And I guess, and I said it at the last budget meeting too, thinking that if we have to cut something, if we cut the transportation and it went on a field trip, you know, form, and you put in like $25 for transportation, is that, would that cut it? Would that cover this? Like, the request for $4,800, is that in lieu of asking parents to pay for transportation to these field trips?
Yes, for the most part.
Okay.
I think the tough thing about that is a lot of those field trips fall under the same class. So it would be difficult, it would end up costing the parents a significant amount, for example, for students who are in mid-careers.
And just to Amy, a lot of those are the course. You know, the students
Right.
go to the hospital and that's where they do much of the work. So it's, you know, we don't have any field trips in the budget that are voluntary or that are an extension of the course. The ones that we have in there are ones that are germane to the course. You couldn't do the course without taking those trips. Med careers is the perfect example.
I guess I'm just struggling with, looking at the fact that we're probably gonna cut some things. Transportation seems to be something that maybe we can be creative about and not impact programming, and so, I'm not sure, I haven't totaled what each subject matter, and they've included the transportation, what it would actually include, but I'm thinking it's pretty substantial, and if we can be creative about, I don't know, parent pay or repay, if there's something else besides that we can come up with, I don't know, because if we can cut there, I prefer that. And I just want to say thank you to all you people for being here tonight. I know that this is our personal time, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit confused, maybe just on both Amy's and Judy's comments. I don't understand. I know it's a tough budget year and everything, but if you're trying to make a reduction and then you're asking, it sounds like we're asking parents to pay for certain things. I mean, isn't that counterproductive of what we're trying to accomplish, or?
I don't think we asked that. We asked for information back. Amy asked the question, she can answer her piece at the last meeting, like what it was separated out. And we asked what other schools are doing, just so we have knowledge, because this seems like a crazy budget here with what's happening from the state. And, you know, I've been one of the people saying I'd like to see parents not pay anything. I don't even want to see parking have to be paid for. So it's not about my personal position at all, at least, you know, it's just weird with this horrible task this year. It's just so we understand what we're doing, like where we understand the costs. I'm not suggesting that making any cuts.
Oh, I was just wondering if we, because it sounds like that we're, well, my personal view on this budget is that it's more, I guess Dr. Szymanski has prepared the budget to give us prepare us for the big lack of funding. However, we've had significant, since I've been on the board, very good increases. We're supportive of the teachers, and I think these the deficits that are coming are you know, state-related pensions and all this stuff. Are we thinking that we're going to have to go and look to give these teachers, you know, a serious reduction in programming? Transportation, my daughter participated in a nursing program last year. You know, she's going to go to college for nursing and eventually PA. You know, I know we're looking at making some reductions if we have to, but at the same time, it sounds like we're putting the burden back on the parents who are paying the taxes to put their kids to public schools, and it's split, you know, across the board from everybody. So I personally would hope that we're not talking about putting it on the backs of the parents again. And then you have people who, you know, who don't have children in the school system. That's not fair, you know. So that maybe I'm getting a mixed signal, but you know, I want us to be able to support our teachers and our students. And I know we can be creative. To what your point is, we can be creative, but I don't want to see it have to come out of everybody's pocket, you know. And if we're going to make some reductions, I think transportation is definitely one of the things I saw too. We could maybe make some reductions in there too, but I'm a little scared when we start talking about, you know, when this teacher's teaching, you know, and you're teaching, you know, phys ed, and we start to get to the point where we're not going to fund it anymore. You know, she needs the supplies. She needs the supplies.
Yeah, well, I can, because I'm not sure if we're even talking about the same thing. What I was talking about, for instance, was I'd like to see a new program that Darien and Westport and some of those places seem to have. Would I prefer Rham to pay the entire thing? Absolutely, but from what I heard with excited kids, I'd like to know what the options are, or even in those communities, are the parents paying a piece? And I don't know, I just learned about this on Saturday, so I don't even know what they are. But if we could have an additional program available and parents might have to pay a piece, I mean, personally, I'd rather the parents don't pay anything, but I'd rather see enhanced programming, which is a lot of what we've talked about, I think, as a board and in programming, you know, like innovation and STEM. And then, you know, these kids were talking about other kids who are doing research with scientists. It was really, it was the kind of work I'd love to see my own kids be able to be involved in. And, you know, and they were actually looking some things up because they usually do Star Talk in Glastonbury, and they were looking up other summer options after this. So, you know, so I'd rather not pay.
Right, sure.
honestly.
Yeah.
Those
So
are
what-
all good points, and I just wanted to mention that. Number 5, we are gonna discuss possible action regarding the proposed budget. It comes after the reports from the various departments, so maybe we should, you know, hold on to those thoughts and address that.
I have one question, says Jude brought to you. Why did the 9th grade not have, what was the class, the event, Judy?
They didn't go to the science fair this year, the state science fair.
Is there a reason why we didn't participate in that?
Yeah, we had a mistake on our end where, some of the scheduling was different this year, and, based on the scheduling of the projects and how it's typically been done, we missed one of the deadlines.
I think you just shut me down on what I was gonna say until after.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
will hold,
Yeah, that's.
restrain
That's
myself.
gonna be a big discussion, I think.
Yeah, I have one question. I noticed the middle school science teachers has increased by 4%. Have you ever seen a reduction in population?
Like, what do you mean that it's?
I'm sorry, did you hear the
It
question?
doesn't reflect the transfer.
Teachers' salary, object 120 for middle school science is showing a 4.09% increase.
It doesn't reflect the transfer.
It doesn't reflect the transfer.
That will happen.
That will happen next year.
This,
There's 6 science teachers currently at the middle school. There will be 5 next year, and 1 is being transferred up to the high school. A little vacant spot up there.
I have one more question. I'm sorry, Rich, were you done?
and so one more, and that will change the high school back from a negative number to a good number.
Yes.
We didn't move, we haven't
There's a
moved the people
vacancy.
yet, but we wanted to show that we had positions. And remember that some of the reductions are that we went from 6 teams to 5 teams in the middle school. And some of this is reflective of it. We haven't made the personnel, as I said earlier, the personnel adjustments at this particular time, but we needed to be sure that these people are carried in the budget.
Okay, I have a question. You know, I think the Rham has a very nice science program, and the more we can get that out and let people know that, the better. And I'm wondering if we are making an outreach to the kids who are at Two Rivers Magnet School and saying, welcome back, or we would welcome you back, or we have a vibrant science program, and, you know, this is an opportunity to be part of your local school again.
We don't have anything in place that goes out and reaches out that way, but I can say from just my classroom alone, I have, I would say at least, I have 40 sophomores, and I would say at least 6 to 7 are students that have recently contacted the
Mhm.
district. But yeah, nothing in place that reaches out.
And I think it's important to note too that, I enjoyed your introduction of the 8th grade introduction to the 9th grade at the high school. And we had had coordinators in assembly present the information about the various disciplines, so that the parents could understand about them, to see the accomplishments of each department and the skills of each department as well. And I think that's the way we're trying to be sure kids come from the grade to go to the ninth grade.
And I think Rham is an exceptional school, but with Two Rivers closing at the end of this year and merging with, New Britain, it just seems like a nice opportunity for, because when we look at magnet school tuitions, to maybe get some money back when we're looking at this. So I don't know if there's a good way to do that through, I'm not on communications, but through the River East, or just through mailers, or through the.
Since the closure, Bob, are we allowed to, since it's closing, since Two River School is closing, everyone knows it, it's too late in the game, kids can't go back into the lottery system, they're limited only going to the Britain school. I mean, there's a lot of negatives to it. Is there any way we can mass mail something out to the people that were here, to get them back?
I think that we've had an extensive mailing that's going to the eighth graders, and we've been.
Right, but this is the reverse. This is to the ones that are
No,
already
I'm saying
there.
we should surely expand that. We need to get a census of those people, see if it's forthcoming.
That's what I was gonna ask.
I just wanted to add that you're right, it was very interesting, and well listened to, and there's a lot of good information here. And we're going to be talking about new programming later on, but we talked here about creating a new course. Is that a course that you're proposing for next year or in the future?
Next year.
Next year. Okay.
Well, not for 2017, 2018, the year.
For 2018.
The new course
With English?
research.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Okay,
This is
this year.
science and literacy skills in the
That's-
context of the local environment.
Yes, that will be
That is
this
next
year.
That's
For
next
this
year.
coming year.
Oh, okay. All right, but we can talk about that when we get to the program.
I think, that you guys are also probably spoken a little bit about it.
Any other questions remaining for Alexa? Judy, you want to take over?
I'm good. Carol, I have a sick child. You keep
Okay.
running it.
Go
This
ahead.
is relaxing. Thank you.
Relax. All righty. Okay. Let's see. Next, we have PE and health.
Chris Mayer for Health and PE. Chris?
Yeah. And that, by the way, PE and health is, what tab is that? Make sure we have tabs.
Yeah.
Purple. Yeah.
Good evening, Chris Mader, Health and Physical Education. I see most of my highlights in there. One of the challenges that's also a highlight, and it's been a major objective for us, is to continue with our level of programming, even with some of the state mandates that have come down in our subject areas. CPR was something that I spoke about last year, it's probably gonna come up again this year as far as instruction supplies and plus the certification. There's other areas the state has been pushing towards us as well. Safe social media, sexual abuse training in the health classes. So those are some of the highlights, the stuff that we've implemented pretty consistently this year in our content areas. We did have every high school teacher, as well as myself, become certified as American Red Cross CPR instructors. We're able to offer CPR to every ninth grade student. So I think that's an awesome thing for us, and looking forward to continuing that. Some of our objectives include just maintaining our current equipment, as well as, I'm sure it'll come up, as well as updating our weight room at the high school. Stuff in physical education gets multiple uses, hundreds and hundreds of strikes, catches, throws, if not thousands every single day. So there is a level of carrying that over in physical education. that equipment and replace that equipment over time. Questions?
All right, why don't we start with Joe this time?
Your first bullet point, Chris, is addition new units, program change in the physical education inquiry academy course. Can you tell me or how that is different from the regular?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we were able to do in that specific class, the personalized learning or inquiry academy class, is we're able to go through some of the same content, the same curriculum, but maybe in a little bit of a different way. So kids are receiving the same curriculum and the same skill set, they have an opportunity to choose what they're able to do. So one of the things that we started off with this year is we started off and we surveyed every student in the inquiry academy. And we surveyed them and asked them if there's additional units of instruction they'd be interested in doing. And then we get the survey results back and we find that, okay, so it's like the highest survey result was in the area of martial arts. So one of the things that we were actually able to do was to go to Quezon for a day field trip, but every day. Basically, we're able to modify the schedule a little bit and extend the PE class so that we could train over there, and that was actually one of our units of study. So that's a huge benefit, and kids really, really enjoy it. So it's looking at different ways of doing things as well as incorporating different things that you probably wouldn't see in traditional physical education classes. And the kids really enjoyed it a lot, and it's a great opportunity to get out in the community. We actually jogged over from Rham, we jogged through Veterans Park, and then we met up there, and we had, like I said, an extended PE class there for a week straight, so it was an awesome opportunity. That's one of the things that I hope to continue doing in the future. Not only for the Inquiry Academy class, but also to reach students who don't enjoy traditional physical education units, so in all our classes.
So that is not offered to the only to Inquiry Academy?
We didn't end up surveying the rest of the classes at this time, so they go through our traditional. It's something that we could do in the future. There's a cost associated with it. I would pay it all. It was about $500, so it's $100 per day for that instruction, which is a pretty big bang for our buck, I think. And to get kids out in the community, get them participating in something that it wasn't just martial arts and self-defense, either. You did stress relief and breathing techniques and all kinds of stuff. It's pretty incredible.
I have a question. Piggybacking it. How long was the course? Or how many weeks was it? And when you put out the questionnaire, how did you present the question? Was it just anything? Was it open field, or did you give them a
We had both.
sections?
I'll answer that question, and might have to remind me of your first question. So what we did is, we actually put a list of different units that the other Inquiry Academy PE teacher and myself, as I teach that course, that we came up with. Anything from archery, which is a current unit at the high school, to yoga, to, like I said, self-defense and martial arts. So we had the different prompters and the Likert scale, survey assessment scale 1 through 5. Least interest and the most interest. And then we also had the open-ended prompt at the end. Things like motocross, obviously we support. And horseback riding, things of that nature, typical responses, things that you just can't do.
And the other question was
The
the segment, how long
yeah,
it was?
thank you. The Inquiry Academy class, it ran just like a traditional PE class. So it's a semester for 7th graders and 8th graders. So it's a half-a-year course.
And the martial arts segment was for how many?
Martial arts segment was for a unit of study, so we had in essence 5 or 6 lessons,
Oh.
extended lessons, about an hour long.
I have lots of questions, but we can go one round quickly.
Okay, the CPR, that's great. My daughter, just tell you my personal situation, my daughter loved it. She came home, was very proud of herself that she took that, so that's great. And I hope you can continue that. That really is a great program.
Perfect. I have a bunch of questions on that. One, the training that you took live
costly when we do our certifications, and it won't be as intensive, require a couple different days straight in order for us to get our initial certification as teachers.
That would be next year probably.
As far as I know,
2 years.
yeah, so the certification's good for 2 years, but as far as I know, as an instructor, there isn't a ton of things that you need to do to maintain your certification. We can actually assess each other, because we're all instructors. My wife's an instructor as well. It's fairly easy to maintain, which was one of the reasons that we actually went with the Red Cross over the Heart Association. The Heart Association, far more stringent, far more costly.
You have in the budget, you had about $4,000 for CPR certifications.
Yeah. So, one of the things that we had last year is we placed CPR certifications in a different line item. And we were asked to move them over to our instructional supplies account. So, I've already met with Jamie, and we're gonna have to add that line item back in. So the document that you have has that removed from our instructional supplies at the high school.
Okay, that was the 5,000.
Right.
Or
So
300.
the number that you have currently is 5,334. The realistic number, maintaining the state statutes and laws for the certification cost, is gonna be 8,144.
And that's for just the certification, or is that the total?
That's for certification.
That's for certification, and that's gonna be put in another object?
No, I think we're just gonna add it, or just add it back to the instructional supply line item. So when the reductions were made, it was like blanket reductions in that area, and that was one of the things that we had moved to that area, so I'm out there to discuss that.
Can you repeat that number again?
Sure, it's 8,144. So the cost of the certifications is $10 a piece at 280 students, which was probably a high projection, but we'll see how it goes. Just so you know, the original cost of certification was $19 a piece. Luckily, I was able to negotiate with the Red Cross, because we're purchasing so many certifications, they basically were able to apply with the platform, giving us a 50% reduction. It was a great savings.
And the students receive something for that?
Yeah. So the students are gonna be emailed to if they pass the test, then they're gonna be emailed to their Rham email account with the certification information, so they can save it as an electronic file or print it.
Now that is, so even at 8144, is that strictly for the certification, or does that include the general industrial supplies?
The question is about the $8,000.
Well, yeah, you have $8,000, you asked for, what, you asked for roughly 11,000 in the
Right.
budget.
Where's that, Rich?
Okay, so the initial request was 11,000. And they knocked it down to 5,300.
Right. So
Now you have this 8,000 number, and does that include all 4 items that, so we're still seeing a reduction of your request?
No, so what we did, you see the last line item in that area? It says American Red Cross CPR certification, including infant.
Mhm.
We removed that one from the budget.
Okay.
And then the math still doesn't add up, because we had a reduction in instructional supplies, the first line item, to bring it down about $1,000.
Okay, and is that, so you're the only department that's getting a decrease in instructional supplies? Is that?
In essence, as far as my understanding, every department is seeing a decrease in instructional supplies.
Everybody was level funded.
They were level funded, right, yeah, not, yeah.
So what we received for that specific item last year was 5,000.
Oh, okay, that's what you're saying, okay, so that's level funded, okay.
We removed, if you're looking at this, still looking at the same page and interested, we removed the $1,160.
Mhm.
My rationale for providing that in there was for students in upper level classes who have the opportunity to get the certification in infant as well as adult and child.
Yeah, I mean, it's so trivial, but $1,000.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
What is the shipping?
That was it.
The shipping, like, what's that about?
So the shipping on some of our items, depending on where we order them, shipping for Gopher, which is typically where we order most of our physical education supplies, is at around 17%. However, some of the time I'm able to negotiate things down. So sometimes they'll send us coupon codes and stuff like that with free shipping on orders over $2,000 or $3,000. So there's times I'm able to save that cost.
And 611, the instructional supply consumable, we were just talking about with the certification and stuff. Is that all related to the certification and the certifications, or is that just plugged in there and it's for doing something somewhere?
For the shipping, that's
Yeah.
not related to certification.
Okay, thanks. Just wondering how.
That's for our large supplies, sometimes they're.
Okay.
Yeah. So last year at this time, we were over in Andover. We had a number of questions on the conditions of the equipment, and we were less than pleased with the conditions of them because they've been overused. So last year, I know you had in the budget for a couple of items to replace physical things. Did you put in a couple of treadmills and maybe one standing bike?
Yeah, we were really fortunate that we were able, and it's been a huge update to our aerobic equipment in the weight room. So we were able to add 2 treadmills.
But this year, it appears that you wanted to add 2 more treadmills, but that's been cut out of the budget, or most of it is?
I can, if you wanna look at that page, I can kind of break all that down for you.
Sure.
So I put in for some additional equipment. And the reduction was for around $8,000. So if I had to go with the $13,000 at this point, kinda did an analysis and figured out for the most part in what order I would like to purchase supplies in that area. And for the first item, I think, would be the 2 new treadmills. So that's a cost of $10,000, which leaves about $3,000 remaining. So the second item I would probably like to purchase is the Zoll AEDs. So those are the AED trainers. The third item would be 1 wakeboard for the gym, for the high school gym. And the last item would be some updates to our equipment closet. So the remaining money is about $770.
I'll ask backwards, I have a little question about, what are custom bulkheads for white guys?
Yeah, it's incredibly expensive. As I found out as I was getting some additional quotes. So the whiteboard cost is a certain amount of money. It's almost the same amount of money to replace the pads that currently exist hanging on the wall. We custom fabricate them to go around the outside of the whiteboards. So that's what that cost is for.
So I got the treadmill, but I thought this year you were gonna ask for treadmills and another 1 or 2 bikes.
So we were able to replace, luckily last year, almost all the bikes. So we were able to get 2 new bikes, as well as 1 upright bike and 2 treadmills. So the big item that I asked for in addition to the treadmills this year, is you see it reflected under number 8. It says Biodex upper body cycle. So that was gonna be one of the other big items that we were kind of hoping for aerobic equipment in order to add to our weight room.
That's the one you stand on?
So Biodex is actually, it's an upper body cycle.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's got huge benefits for our students with lower body coordination issues. Some of our students in adaptive physical education. And it has huge benefits for students who are healing from a lower body injury, both in athletics and in physical education as an alternative activity.
We have old AEDs that are no longer in operation.
We've traded them in.
I had a question about the wellness speakers. There were 2 for 500, as I recall. One was the high school, one was the middle school, and then there was one group, or I don't know if it was a group or what, for 5,000. And I'm wondering,
Wellness Day that we do at the high school. One of the ways that we satisfy state mandates that students have substance abuse training every year, as well as additional areas of health every year, is by offering a wellness day to our juniors and seniors in high school, our upperclassmen, because there is no required course in health or physical education for our juniors and seniors. So that's a day where we have all kinds of different speakers come in, and we invite them, and they speak, and students, juniors and seniors get to choose which sessions they'd like to attend. So there is a cost associated with running the program that day, and that's where the $5,000 comes in.
Okay, so the speakers, they run like seminars, is that it?
Yeah,
Seminars?
so they usually have like a larger keynote speaker, which has a higher cost, and then they also do a really, Kim Hills and Carol Fish, high school people who run this, they actually do an incredible job of getting members of the community come in and present on things. And they are able to keep costs fairly low, but there still are some definite costs in that area.
And then the other two speakers are they related programs to this? Or?
They could be. This is usually, sometimes it's an opportunity for us to use, to have a speaker come in and talk to our health classes for this school. I used that area this year for Taekwondo, so in the eighth grade again.
Judy?
Don't have any questions, thank you.
Amy?
No, thanks.
You all set? Joe, do you have any more questions?
Thanks, Karen. Yes, Chris, I just also echo about the CPR. I some notes here. I think that's outstanding. There are teachers that elevate their, awareness of that. On the AED, last year we increased the AEDs, and I believe there was a couple that expired. But I want to make sure that we have enough AEDs because it is a critical piece of equipment in a school of this size. So do we have enough AEDs? And I saw you ordered 2 learning AEDs, correct?
Yeah.
So do those have infant capabilities as well, those learners?
They do. So my justification for that line item is the fact that we actually have Zoll AEDs in our schools. And to answer your first question, I think our facility has done an outstanding job of upgrading our AEDs, including the locations of those AEDs, in my opinion. So I wanted to get the Zoll AED trainers that match the actual AEDs that we have in our school. Some of the typical AED trainers are more like a toy, whereas the actual Zoll AED trainers can actually practice as if it's a real emergency with the actual AED that we have. So there's more cost to them, but they're also there's huge benefit to them.
And how long are these Zolls good for as far as life expectancy? I know you have a year, 2 years, or every year you're changing the batteries and the pads.
I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's every year they change the batteries. It's through the nurse's office more than anything, and through
And one of
fire
the things
department.
too is that one of the things opposed to the 218, as I understand, is the software. So therefore, the whole unit needs to be replaced. That's why the replacement, when we have in the budget, in the nurse's budget, replacement pads. So that, just to keep them current, I think that 3 or 4 years they have to be replaced.
Yeah, we replace ours every 2 years, and it's tracking because they lose the adhesiveness and, on the pads anyways. And the batteries are probably a little higher on AED, but batteries, they go pretty quick. So you think we're good on AEDs?
I do.
Okay. You also mentioned here, and I know we've talked about this, other parents have talked about this in the football program. It says alleviate safety concerns of deteriorating and broken equipment in the weight room. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. It's pretty timely because we had a repair technician in today to do routine maintenance on our aerobic equipment. Definitely want to continue maintaining the new equipment that we've had. And we have to remove the 2 old treadmills at this point. One of them was still functioning, the other one I had to look at. And not only is it not worth it and cost effective to continue to replace the parts on those old treadmills, they're so old at this point that it would be a struggle to even find some of the parts for them. So we're getting the old equipment out of there. I basically got the go-ahead from New England Fitness, the service technician today, in order to do that. So we are gonna do that and hopefully replace it with new equipment when the budget passes and the summer comes.
And do you think that the weight room, the current weight room, I know we have environmental issues there as far as air conditioning, lack of air conditioning, air quality issues. Is there any other facility in the school that we're not utilizing that maybe we could convert that current weight room to expand, make it a bigger weight room that would be more suitable?
Not at this time. I think that one of the things we've done, if you look at the maintenance budget, we've purchased 3 new air conditioners for those rooms and some large pedestal fans, so that we can do some things to continue to improve the quality of air during the summer. I think that as we start looking at defining enrollment, I think that that's a study that could be done and figure out where the best place was, given proximity of weight room to academic classrooms. We right now we're pretty sure that noise from the weight room doesn't distract the class.
Are we closing on the, I thought I may have read this somewhere, what are we doing with the middle school wood shop? Is that program going away?
No, it's going to be modified. Since I think that, since you brought it up, we're looking at transforming woodshop from a program like it was when we went to school to one that's more manufacturing based, so that the kids can appreciate that and understand manufacturing and use that as a trickle into history.
That's in the next topic.
Yeah, I was just thinking, maybe if that was going away, that might be a bigger room that you could utilize, okay? So as far as the weight room is concerned, what do we need besides the treadmills? What other equipment are we, the other piece that was cut out, the lower body piece, lower upper body cycle, what, because the football program has talked to us about weights. Is there a plan that you could set up for us that we can, we're looking at a strength and fitness coach. Well, you're going to have a strength and fitness coach, and we need to have the proper equipment. So is our gym really that far outdated? Is it something that we really need to be concerned about? I'm concerned with obviously the ventilation issue, but we're trying to put a patch on that right now. So what do you think?
I think that, probably agree, in a perfect world, we'd have a larger facility in general for the amount of area that we have in there. We're fairly limited with the amount of equipment that we can include in there. So my objective over the last couple of years, with your support, has been to replace the equipment that's not working in the same area without major reconfiguration, because we just don't have a ton of space to be able to put additional type equipment. As far as the weights and stuff like that, it's the aerobic equipment that seems to wear out faster, given the parts and stuff. It's really hard to break or dumbbell. The great things with dumbbells, but it's really difficult. The weights, they don't really wear out, so that equipment doesn't wear out as much. The pads on some of the anaerobic equipment, meaning the weight equipment, like the leg press and stuff like that, that stuff is so old that the pads are beginning to deteriorate. So I have, just today, this afternoon, I got contact information for a company that does custom pad fitting, which is actually cheaper than replacing some of the old pads, believe it or not, and they come in and they can do custom fabrication. So I think that would alleviate some of the concerns for some